Welcome, everyone, to our first edition of what I think we're going to call Light Conversations with Bob. Get it? Everyone's asking me on Twitter if tracks have lights, light conversations with Bob. Well, we'll see how it goes. First off, on a serious note, I want to tell all our fans that I hope you and your families and your work families and your friends are all healthy, safe, and sane as the world continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. Our goal here is to inform and hopefully entertain a little bit, especially at this time with the NASCAR race season suspended. First up is an interview with William Byron. We're talking iRacing, and with William for a good reason. He has 292 career wins in iRacing. So when we're looking for an iRacing expert to explain it to us, he was the man we wanted to talk to. William, thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool to see how the community is kind of rallying around this iRacing and just see how big a deal the Pro Invitational has become. I think seeing that now they're going to continue the series for a while is going to be really cool, and I'm just excited to I guess see how it goes this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited not only just this Sunday, but the Sunday as while the racing season is suspended, we'll be carrying each of the races each week. First off, William, I'm surprised you have the time to talk to me. You have 292 wins, I think, in iRacing. Last time I looked, nearly 1,500 races in iRacing. No wonder you're so good. But what got you into it? I mean, what got you? You know, for people who don't know, that iRacing is kind of a very complex simulator type system. You need a wheel, you need pedals, and you either need a laptop or some sort of monitor. So what got you into wanting to get a steering wheel and pedals?
Yeah, so I started in 2012, I believe, on iRacing. And for me, honestly, just watching and seeing Dale Jr. be a big advocate for it at the time. You know, he was driving for Hendrick in the 88 car, and he was very complimentary of what the system and what the sim was all about. So really for me, I started on a laptop, got a little 15-inch computer laptop set up. I think I put it on some duct tape or something to keep it from overheating. And I had a Logitech wheel and pedals. Really just started racing from there. I think I raced every afternoon that I came home from school, which my parents were basically not too fond of at the time. They were wondering why I wasn't going outside or doing my homework. But I love it, and over time, I guess I've gotten more sophisticated rigs set up, in my apartment here. But at first, it was just a small computer and some wheel and pedals, is really all it takes.
So, I mean, watching some of the races and, obviously you're really strong. Some of the cup drivers who'd never done it before, they weren't so strong. Like, how many hours on iRacing does it take to be good? And then how many more hours do you need to be kind of like in the level of you and Ty Majeski and Timmy Hill and guys who've been kind of ranked among the top iRacers in the country?
I think it's honestly, for me, racing experience is the biggest thing. Is, you can go make laps at your buddy's house and be in the top five on lap time, but that doesn't really tell you what iRacing's all about and really show you what wins a race on there. What wins a race is how you drive with keeping the tires underneath the car, how your restarts are, how your pit road is. There's so many little details that make a difference. It can be just a split second of getting too far in your pit box and having to back up, and that can cost you positions. And similar to the real racing, but it's all those little details that kind of add up. That it's more than just making a lap and being really fast. It's about how your racecraft is, and I guess that's what you learn over the course of racing a lot.
Yeah, and so you have crew chiefs who help you, decide, how many tires to take and everything. Do you, how how important is having somebody, there with you or on your channel to help kind of direct you through a race like that?
It's really important. I mean, I've got Nick Ottinger who drives the 25 car for me in the Coke series that they have for iRacing. So, he's a big help for me. Kind of structures my tire strategy and also kind of, might give a couple tips and tricks for what might help the tires last longer and things like that. So, he's instrumental in really how I manage my equipment throughout a race. So, it only really takes one other person to be successful, but it is helpful to really have another person, especially in a big race, and let them kind of control your tire strategy and fuel strategy.
I'll get back to Nick in a little bit, but I do need to ask because I was watching a race the other night, and I guess Chad Knaus has voices like a virtual crew chief. If you have a crew chief, right? Like I want to say Parker Kligerman had Chad talking, and every lap you would hear Chad give the lap time, and then occasionally be like, "Okay, let's get him, bud." I mean, he sounds very nice in the virtual iRacing crew chief. I'm curious, do you ever play with him as your virtual crew chief, or are you like, oh no, that's just not Chad. That's not the Chad I know.
So what's funny is actually preparing for the Daytona 500 this year. I came home and I raced for a couple of days, and I was racing on there. And when the big one would happen, I'd have Chad as my spotter, and he would be, throwing curse words and being all mad, why is the car destroyed and this and that. And it didn't sound all that different. So I think that, it's funny. We've actually gotten Chad on iRacing now, and he loves it. I mean, he's hooked, and it's fun to have him on there. I'm not quite sure if he knows how to. I'm actually delivering a headset to him today, but I'm not quite sure if he knows how to use all that stuff yet. So if I had him do my pit calls for Sunday, I'm not sure if we would get everyone correct, but I'm sure in a couple weeks, once he gets a hold of this headset, he could probably crew chief me through the whole race, which would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be neat. But yeah, it's funny to hear his voice on somebody else's. Now you were talking about you own a team. So NASCAR there are a couple different series, but the iRacing series that NASCAR runs, the NASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola series, they're actually a professional, what you would call professional gamer, a professional simulator racer who you guys I assume pay a little bit. You talked about, is it Logitech who's your sponsor, right?
Yeah.
On this, why own a team, and what does a team owner do?
So for me, I love, obviously love iRacing, but for me to get closer to it this year, before this all came about with the Pro Series, was to own a team. And so I went out this off season, kind of recruited a couple of drivers and really got into it as a team owner. And so what that consists of is, I talk to those guys every week about what they're doing as a driver to improve. And they also, work with me to try to learn from the real side what they can do differently. So it's pretty cool and unique. And I think that series, and I'm pretty excited to kind of see where they do this year. I think we're third in the owners' points right now. We had a second place finish in the first race at Daytona. So hopefully that can improve as the year goes on. But yeah, we've got Logitech G on board with our car, and that's pretty cool.
And so if this racing stuff doesn't, for some reason, doesn't work out for you on the real tracks, can you just be a full-time owner in iRacing? Could that be a career, or I mean, like, does this?
I hope it doesn't come to that, but
okay.
I hope it doesn't come to that anytime soon. But if that's the case, I guess I could do that.
I don't think it will.
I could run my own car.
But it's pretty impressive that there are sponsors, and we've been hearing about this for the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series, that sponsors want to be involved because the Coca-Cola series that I think your driver runs in, it can be anywhere from 150 to 200 to 250,000 people watching various streams of those events. So, do you have an idea of like who's watching this? Is it the young gamer, the young person who's on iRacing who just isn't to that level yet? Is it race fans? Do you have any idea of who's watching?
Honestly, I think a lot of guys are able to watch. I think a lot of fans can really tune in and watch on there, and it's pretty cool. I'm not very, unlike people would probably think, I'm not super technology savvy when it comes to computers and all of that. So I'm trying to learn the Twitch platform, and try to get my iRacing streamed on there, because that would be pretty cool. I race on there 3 or 4 times a night, so I could stream a couple races a night, and I'm sure that would be fun for people to see. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways for people to watch. Obviously, the easiest way is to get an iRacing account and go in there, and you can actually spectate a person and watch them race. So I do that sometimes if there's somebody I want to learn something from. So it's pretty neat, all the different ways that you can tune in.
Yeah, and when I was watching yesterday, like there's some drivers who have 2 mirrors, like there's a virtual rear view mirror, and then there was another mirror that one driver had in the corner, and then another driver just had the regular rear view mirror that maybe you would have in your car. You wouldn't have it in a race car, I don't think. But how in depth do you get in, like, okay, where do I put this mirror? And I mean, do you get into that deep into the weeds on things as a driver?
Yeah, it's critical. Like your frame of view of where you sit and the cars are really important. If it's for any reason that it's like basically off, like the perception of view is off, then it can really affect like how well that you race, because it can affect how close you feel like you are to other cars. So that's critical. The other thing, obviously, like you said, is the rear view mirror. Understanding where you are in reference to another car, and whether or not you're clear is critical, because I have a spotter, but it's honestly quicker. It's honestly quicker for me to make that decision on my own if I can see it in my mirror perfectly. So, I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing kind of where those parameters are. Is it, because every little inch, just like a real race, every little inch is really critical on iRacing to try to get.
What if I'm a fan watching this on Fox or FS1 on Sunday? What should I be looking for? What would I be interested in, or what should I look for that maybe I wouldn't know unless you told me to look for it?
So I would look for, speed in certain cars. I think that, looking in that first run of the race, let's say that it goes green and there's not a lot of cautions in the first run. I would look at who's competitive on the long run, because that's going to set up for the end of the race when it comes time to really go. And those guys are probably going to have the best idea of what grip is in their tires and things like that. So, I think that's critical. I think seeing which guys, do well on pit road, whether or not they gain a couple spots. Unlike, in the real world where pit crew makes a difference, honestly, on iRacing, the driver makes a difference, because it's how you get in and out of your pit box. The pit stop times are within a couple hundredths of each other. So there's really not a whole lot that, maybe one guy has a little bit faster pit stop, but the pit stop times are pretty similar. So you can gain spots on pit road just by how you get in and off of pit road.
And I know the drivers can have a chat during the race. Are you on there talking to the other drivers, or are you pretty quiet and saying I'm just kind of focused on myself?
Yeah, I'm kind of focused really on myself. I don't say anything unless somebody does something that helps me. If they let me go and I was faster and they let me go, I might say thank you or something. But I try not to get in too much to the drama of it. There's always somebody who's unhappy. It might be with you. They might say, hey, I didn't appreciate that. And if I don't feel like I really have an intelligent response, then I just don't say anything. So, but if I'm in a group, if I'm in a chat with, if I'm in a race and I feel like, I need to say something, then I will. But I try not to be the guy that continuously talks on the chat, because nobody likes that guy.
I see. So, and so Texas is this week, and then we expect Bristol to be next week. If somebody makes you mad at Texas, is there retaliation next week at Bristol? Like, does stuff carry over, or is this still hey, it's exhibition, it's fun, no hard feelings afterward?
Yeah, I think there will be some of that. I think that, hopefully, my goal this week is just to avoid the conflict, because I feel like, honestly, if I avoid the wrecks and things like that, I think I'm fast enough to go up there and win. So I just, just to try to stay out of the mess and really not make too many enemies out there, and hopefully guys don't block and things like that when they're not clear. So we'll see how it goes, but I think that we just have to kind of stay in the race, till the end, and hopefully avoid all the melee that happens from 10th on back or whatever it is. So we'll see. I think guys will race a lot better this week. Just it'll be cleaner, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah. The move that Denny made on Junior at the end that's a clean move, right? In iRacing, especially because at Homestead, you want to be on the bottom, I guess, there, as opposed to maybe in the Cup car where you would, on the actual track, you might want to be on the top. So it seemed to be it seemed like there were no hard feelings.
Yeah, that was really good for me. Obviously had the fresher tires, made a big difference there. And I thought Dale did a good job of keeping it on the bottom. And I thought, honestly, it was going to be a really close battle if they hadn't really bounced off each other there. I thought it was going to be really close to the line, but Denny definitely had the momentum with the tires and being on the top group. So it's just, lane choice is definitely crazy, because it kind of changes throughout the race too.
All right. Well, hey, I have one final question. It's kind of hard hitting one. We saw Denny racing barefoot. So do you race barefoot or with shoes on?
So I race with shoes on, and I'm surprised he races barefoot, because I race with my racing shoes on, and I don't know if that's different than everybody else does it, but I race with my racing shoes on. They're not the most comfortable thing. Every time I get in the sim, I have to put on my shoes, but I don't race with gloves. I think that's kind of silly, but I do race with shoes.
All right. Well, hey, William, thank you for joining me. Please, everyone, don't forget the next race is 1 p.m. Eastern, Sunday on Fox. Check your local listings, but it'll also be simulcast on FS1. And we'll love to see what happens in this week in the eNASCARiRacingPro Series Invitational. William, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
For more great NASCAR on Fox content, subscribe to our channel. It's somewhere right around here.